All right, welcome to Game 4 at the Abington, or Battlegrounds in Abington tournament, summer kit tournament of September 10th, 2014. This is round 4 so far in this tournament. I am 3-0, and so this is the final round with 11 people, now 10 since one dropped, so 10 people in attendance. I am on the left, set up here with Palpatine and Defenders, and on my right, my final opponent for the day is Matthew. And once again, if you weren't looking at the first video first, my Vessery differs from most of them in that I have replaced Juke with Crackshot, and I've put Twin Ion Engine Mark II on here. And the reason for that is that I've gotten stress onto Vessery a couple times, and with only the straights to clear it, I've found it really hamstrings him. So I need those green banks. And it comes in very handy because we see that Matthew is playing the list that Minox Squadron has entitled Danaru. Of course, we have Biggs, our 46 integrated astromech. Then Wes Jansen, he's running R3A2, I believe also integrated astromech, and I don't remember which EPT he had on there. I think it is VI though. And finally, Corin Horn, Fire Control Systems, R2D2. So he's brought many large rocks, and we've got a very big pile of rocks down the center lane. Excuse me, really splitting the board into two halves. I kind of like that formation, since I took part in forming it. My thought process here was that I would draw him in. Hopefully he would go over Palpatine, or go after Palpatine, and I would be able to set up a lane where I could K-turn, and it would leave him very few options to maneuver. That was the theory. Let's see how it plays out. So I do my standard, if you've been watching this, slow advance, but then I do jump forward a bunch, both with the Defenders and also with the shuttle. So with the Defenders, I am moving to take a left turn here, next turn, and with the shuttle, I want to pull it around so that it can find a nice gap in the rocks, because I know at this point that I'm not going to be able to hold it back enough, and so I want to make sure that when he does finally get to the shuttle, that I have some good exit points and I'm not blocked by rocks. So he banks in, and now... So I'm going to stop this right here. I'm going to... well, actually, I'm going to stop it here. Alright, so what you see here is Corin is sitting at an odd angle because he has bumped. He has bumped, I believe, Biggs. And the TO is over here on the left. And so we've brought the TO over here because Matthew's assertion was that the bump should not have happened. Now, what happened prior to this was that we had to move Biggs in order for Wes to fly by him. They were all doing 2 turns, and they were all sitting next to each other. And so his assertion was that I was the one who marked and removed Biggs and put him back, so his assertion was that I did it wrong, causing the bump. Of course, I couldn't say anything to prove it wasn't true, except, of course, we can review the video here, which is what we're doing now. How his assertion was, if the ships all do a 2-turn, then 2 turns, or turns, hard turns, you can always do them and you won't bump. So first let's check out the assertion of this being because I moved the ship. So this is, you can see it's in Photoshop. I've taken a before, a during while I was marking it, and an after shot. So this is the before we're looking at, and this is the during. And this is the after. This is between the before and the during. You can see it moves a fraction of a millimeter. So I did place it back, technically not in the exact place, but as close as humanly possible. Seriously, a fraction of a millimeter. And now I'm switching between before and after. And you can see, look again, so look at this ship right here, where it is before and after it's the same place, as you can see. There's nothing there that should have led to a bump. So how do we explain this? Why did the bump happen? Well, we're going to go to Vassal to explain what happened. So here you can see that there is a little bit of a gap between the first two ships, and this is roughly the orientation that his ships were in. So little bit gap here, but essentially no gap here, and that's what he was running. He was running these ships almost touching, if not touching. So we do a 2-turn and another 2-turn, and you can see this is basically well, this would be, I would consider touching in Vassal, but in real life, let's say that he bumped it just enough to say, okay, it wasn't really a bump, or maybe they were just that touch farther away so that they didn't bump. But what happens when the third ship goes? It bumps because the nubs. So in X-Wing, ships are longer or taller than they are wide because the nubs add additional distance. So the reason this maneuver failed is because they aren't perfect squares, and when you do the 2-turn, if you haven't left the nub's width between the ships prior to the turn, they're going to collide. So what happened in the game? Well, honestly, I have never had anyone claim that a bump shouldn't have happened, and that they wanted it to be called as not happening. It's a new thing for me, so I was a bit taken aback. Ultimately, what I did was I said, I disagree with this. I think the bump happened, but whatever, take your action. That'll be fine. I'm not going to try to argue about this because ultimately, with the exception of looking at this video, there's no way once the bump has happened to rewind time and figure out what happened. Anyway, that was the little dissertation on that. So if you ever have a situation where two ships are next to each other and they do a hard turn and they bump, and someone claims that it should not have been possible, remember, the ships are longer than they are wide, and it absolutely is possible if they are right next to each other. Okay, so on to combat. Well, so it doesn't even look like Wes put any stress on any of my ships. I do a K-turn because at that point his ships were all in a line. I'm ready to joust, and I know that I can take K-turn better than his. And what I had planned did turn out pretty well in the sense that I have picked lanes in this asteroid field where I can do some work, although Vessery there did have to go over the asteroid to do that 4K, so it's not a maneuver that I'll be doing on the return trip, but I was willing to risk it in order to get behind his ships. But I was happy to joust in the middle of the asteroids. The K-turns are stressing him, and it doesn't give him a lot of room to maneuver. So you can see there's a bunch of damage here on Biggs at this point, and a crit. But I don't think it mattered. Ryad did take a double tap here and has 2 shields down. And as I said, I wanted the shuttle to be in a good position once we got into this point of the round. So I'm rolling it around the asteroid and bringing it right into combat. And after this round of combat, Biggs is off the board, and there's a target lock on Corrin. And having done its work, I'm just moving the shuttle off to the right. It's not going to get another shot, not through that asteroid field. Meanwhile, Ryad is K-turning around. I tried to bring her out of the action. You can see she's lost 1 more shield, and I don't think she has any damage on her yet, but I thought I was being safe. In fact, Corrin double taps and takes Ryad off the board just like that. Now in this round of maneuvering, I just did a barrel roll. That barrel roll was a mistake because it brings Corrin out of arc of Vessery, but within arc of the shuttle. But I could have had 2 shots there, only ended up with 1. but he K-turned Corrin, hoping to do the double tap. Well, he did do the double tap on the shuttle, rolled not so well, and I got 4 hits on Corrin, and that was the end of the game. So I end the tournament 4-0 and in first place. So solid showing, I'd say, for the Palpatine and Defenders. Alright, so I'd love to hear what you have to say about these battle reports. Let me know if you want me to make them longer. Should I go into more detail about what I was doing, my impression at any point in the game about what my opponent was doing? Should I get into the theory or analysis of every round? I don't know how long it makes sense to make these. I don't want it to be too long, and I don't want it to drag on, but I also want to make sure that it's got the kind of detail that makes it worth watching. So, as I said, please let me know, leave your comments, and I look forward to reading them. Thanks.